Francophone Cameroonians and all Anglophones and even Francophones who listen to me. Today we want to talk about Maurice Kamto, a very big missed opportunity. You know very well, Maurice Kamto is a law professor in Cameroon. He's a former United Nations International Law Commission member, a very big post in the United Nations, and an ex-minister delegate of justice in Cameroon. He served in that position and that capacity in 2004 to 2011. Shortly after that, in 2012, he co-created the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, the MRC, which is his political party. And he deeply contested the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon, where we all believe that Kamto won. He was declared President Élu of Cameroon. The Cameroon Constitutional Council officially declared that Paul Biya won the election, and Kamto had just, I think, 14%, giving Paul Biya 71%. In 2019, we know that John Fundi won. He won according to the Constitutional Council. Also, they gave him 36% of the vote, and Paul Biya just 40%. It was a very close call. According to Elekam, that is the closest somebody I've ever gotten officially in Cameroon against Paul Biya. So Kamto's legal campaign aggressively followed the result in 2000 and the last election, where we believe he won, highlighting irregularities in the election, which we believe were all valid, but he didn't succeed. In 2019, Kamto and over 200 members of his MRC supporters were arrested and detained in Konengi prison. I want to give you this background to refresh the mind of everybody. They charged them for insurrection and hostility against the state. We also remember that it reflects John Fundi's experience. When John Fundi won, he was put under house arrest in Bamenda, and the reaction of John Fundi at that time was to declare ghost town. It was effective in Bafoussam and many places in Cameroon, in particularly in the northwest and southwest, which is the Anglophone region. They were completely ghost town to reflect John Fundi arrest. Are we seeing the same reaction today in the Francophone region about Maurice Kamto? None. So, John Fundi in 1992, after making a very strong presidential campaign, he had real momentum around the country. He even campaigned in Vomeka, Paul Biya's own village. He traveled to the northern part of Cameroon, everywhere. He had real momentum, real support from all Cameroonians, especially Francophones. However, instead of getting into election in that 1992, John Fundi, citing electoral fraud, lack of transparency, and insecurity, particularly in the Anglophone regions where he lives, the SDF decided officially to boycott the 1997 legislative elections, which was the biggest mistake they ever made. That boycott of the SDF handed the CPDM an opportunity which they will always try to take, but they gave them an opportunity for Paul Biya's party to have an overwhelming parliamentary majority, effectively eliminating institutional opposition, which is very, very important in the Cameroon's National Assembly. For a full term, Paul Biya had that advantage in the legislation. It's important that our people understand these consequences of boycott and with what is happening with Maurice Kamto, because the consequences of that boycott of John Fundi and also Maurice Kamto to an extent means a loss of opportunity to shape policy or to delay harmful legislation in Cameroon's legislature's bodies. It weakens the grassroots networks because no MPs, no official political parties representative in various localities means less representation and fewer funds reaching key stronghold, and also stakeholders, building up stakeholders who could possibly stand officially to challenge the government. It also isolates from the broader political dialogue within the country's institution. Other small political parties that didn't boycott or which were created even by the government or people who are jokers will take advantage and have influence over those big parties that are more important. The ruling party used the SDF boycotts and absence and the Maurice Kamto's boycott and absence to consolidate power and present an image of democracy without obstruction. If there was no democracy there, claim of democracy, it would be okay to boycott. But when there is democracy, you boycott, they will claim there is democracy. So the 2020 Maurice Kamto boycott, they boycotted the legislative and municipal election, demanding that there must be fair election and there must be electoral reforms. While these demands were very legitimate, the consequences are all the same. When you boycott, the consequences are the same. And our people should learn, analyze, and know this. Even as we see the failure of reaction the way we expect from Maurice Kamto, this lesson must be learned. The Maurice Kamto party was excluded from parliament and municipal council. It makes it easy for the government of Cameroon, especially people like Paul Atanganji, to brand the MRC as an illegal or unconstructive political party, which they did. And the international community will largely follow that narrative. The boycott had weakened Maurice Kamto's ability to mobilize institutional influence or institutional opposition in what is going on in Cameroon, including during this presidential election. You have seen no reaction that is very substantial within the Cameroon government because they lack that capacity within the institutions due to that boycott. Boycotting an election is like leaving your sword behind on a battlefield, as we have come to know. We now know that regimes' influence will infiltrate groups and political parties to give them bad advice so that they will boycott because they want them not to participate. Both John Frundi and Kamto ceded power voluntarily in moments when strategic participation might have led to a strong long-term gain. But they ceded power. And today we in Ambazonia, we are ceding power to Paul Biya in similar manners. We must, all Cameroonians, must now reflect on what is going on. Opposition parties must find creative ways to engage the flawed system rather than abandoning the battlefield, abandoning the house and try to speak outside in the window. It will not help us. Because of the vacuum left by the SDF and the MRC, we have learned, and it is the same thing that has happened in the Ambazonia movement, the cost of non-engagement. History has a way of warning those who refuse to listen. And we in PRAP, the People's Right Advocative Movement, we are sending a message to the whole Cameroon population, at home and abroad, all political movements, political parties and influencers. This is our message to all of them. In 1997, the SDF under John Frundi boycotted parliamentary election to protest electoral fraud that occurred that were legitimate. That move, even though it was principled, I will consider it as it was ill-advised by even infiltrators within the SDF. It's the same thing with the Maurice Kamto movement. But that boycott, our message to the Cameroon people should understand that boycott handed the Biya's regime unchecked legislative control and weakened opposition's influence for years, which is the same thing that has happened with Maurice Kamto. Fast forward to 2020, from John Frundi to Maurice Kamto. Maurice Kamto political party, MRC, made that choice of boycotting parliamentary election and municipal election on principle that were all legitimate. The results were the same. No seats, no political platform, no institutional leverage. And it reduces even his ability to engage with foreign institutions or foreign government to influence events that are happening in Cameroon. Now look at Ambazonia, the Ambazonia movement. We too have followed this same dangerous trend because we fail to learn, we fail to be strategic. This dangerous trend of boycott, total boycott, for us in the Anglophone region and the Ambazonia movement, under the banner of independence or nothing else, we refuse any meaningful concessions in order to engage the Cameroon government and the international community. Even in local governance, we should understand, in conflict resolution initiatives, we also have shown the same trend when we want a wholesome victory or nothing else. Anything short of full sovereignty is seen as a betrayal. That is a big mistake we have made. That is the hard truth. We must understand. Boycotts only strengthens the hand of the enemy, of the people. When you don't show up, my people, all Cameroonians, this is our message to you. When you don't show up, the enemy fills the gap and you'll be powerless. You'll be less powerful to help your people. When you refuse to engage, you lose power and influence, as we can see today from Maurice Kamto experience. The no compromise idea has left us isolated with little international traction. It's true for the Ambazonian movement. It is true for political parties. The communities are now torn between armed chaos and despair because of that trend, which we must change. If this action by the Paul Biya regime against Maurice Kamto was a test, the Maurice Kamto have failed to react the way the regime will see it as, will necessitate their reaction to be positive. We must learn from that. Maurice Kamto is absent, missing in action. Where is his popular mobilization? Where is the international outcry? Because when he went to France, he focused to speak internally to Cameroon community. We did not see him move to meet political parties in France which do not support the France-Afrique model in Africa. That was a big mistake. We speak to ourselves. We fail to engage the international community. And at the end, we don't have any real tangible support from the international community to back what our people really deserve and what they need. So it is time for us to redefine engagement and know that engagement is not a surrender. It is not a betrayal. It is the right thing to do. It is not silencing. It's not giving in, but strategic presence. We must embrace strategic presence even with the regime. In humanitarian diplomacy, in the community, we must engage. We must understand that conflict resolution table. We must sit on that table and work out transitional justice platform. That is what I would call a transitional justice platform. It's a way to transit into that justice. We will not get the justice without that transition. We must be willing to say, we are here. We are here to talk. We are here to discuss. Not because we accept oppression, not because we support the regime, but because we are committed in shaping a better alternative for our people. Because independence without influence is just an exile. It doesn't exist. Resistance without a roadmap is just pure rebellion that will never take us anywhere. We must learn from history. Today, we feel very sad with what is happening with the Francophones, with the election and their hope in Maurice Kamto. But it will be a lesson for them. They have to understand and go through the pain that we, the Anglophones, went through when John Fundi was rejected. John Fundi was largely supported by the Francophones, but he was not a Francophone, so it is different. This time it is one of theirs, Maurice Kamto, who have been rejected. They too will see that we are all in the same pot, suffering through the same thing. And it should bring everybody with more understanding and care for each other. We didn't see Maurice Kamto visit our refugees or IDPs. We don't expect Akere Muna to do the same. We think Kawala was right. We'll continue to advocate and educate our people. God bless you all.